here again, coming to inform you about all the things you've always wanted to know about the weed industry and all the things you never even knew to wonder about. Now, when we speak about the legal term trafficking, how many carloads or trips does it take to move 1,000 kilos? Remember, unlike cocaine, heroin, or meth, weed takes up a lot more space and you can't compress it into efficient bricks or you'll ruin the product. We packed it in suctioned airtight bags to keep it from being crushed and then put about 20 1-pound bags into a waterproof canvas bag. And we usually had around 5 canvas bags per trip. Our loads, we tried to keep it just under 100 pounds, like 99 pounds. Those watertight bags were as expensive as crap too, like $1,500 a bag. But well worth it, because cannabis, as most of you realize, is skunky and super pungent. The better the quality of the weed, the stinkier the smell. Our operation was big enough that very few people knew the crew at the top. I knew who quite a few of the hoppers were, but very few of them knew who I was, that I was even involved in the operation. Some of them knew me, but they didn't know I was involved. They didn't know that I helped broker and drive the weed that they were distributing. One night at a party, I was chit-chatting innocuously with a couple of our hoppers and a bunch of other people. None of them knew who I was in the crew. And for whatever reason, one of them brought up the subject matter of the mythological 100 pounds. My eyes bugged out inside of my head, but I acted all cool and nonchalant so I could hear what they had to say. And I said smoothly, "Is that a thing?" One of them said, "Oh yeah, it's called the mythological 100 pounds. That's people who claim they distributed over a 100-pound load. Those braggarts are nothing more than delusional." The other people and I, we all totally agreed with them. Yeah, they're braggarts. Then the other hopper chimes in, adding his little knowledgeable 2 cents worth and said, "People who say they've brokered over 100 pounds are so full of crap." I was howling inside, but I was like, whatever. Inside, I'm just going crazy. Outside, I'm cool as a raspberry smoothie. Not that I ever bragged about it until now, but whether those 2 little street hoppers or any of the other street hoppers believed I was real or not, it's neither here nor there, because I did exist right in front of their faces. In a 6 to 8 month busy season, we could move about 1 kilo of weed. Top industry insiders think that people like us who move that kind of weight represent distribution. Kick-ass distribution. But I gotta tell you, we were nothing compared to those operations from New York, Chicago, or Atlanta. Now those folks moved monster weight. Just a little short side note. After we got busted and all of our friends read about it in the news, they all came up to us later and said, "I can't believe that you guys were running the largest weed operation in the state's history. How could I have not known that? Why didn't I know?" Even the hoppers in our operation didn't know who we were. So many of our friends would say, "If you were doing that, I would have known. And why didn't you tell me and get me some product?" Right. We sold hundreds of kilos, not freaking dime bags, people. The product you bought down the line probably came from us anyway, so it all comes out in the wash. We were getting you your product. And really, if we had told one person, 100 people would have known. Then it would have been the mythological 100 people secret. Telling family and friends, even our closest friends, that we were running this operation for the whole east side of the city was a really good way to get myself busted. We were very, very discreet. As it was, they finally busted us after almost 5 years. But I digress. Back to the subject matter of moving the loads. Many of the cars that we rented had trunks that would barely hold 100 pounds, and some trunks could only hold up to 80 pounds. We never drove trucks or vans because it didn't really go along with our middle-aged tourist disguise. We mostly rented little SUVs like Subarus or Jeep Cherokees, Ford Explorers, and sometimes Chevy Tahoes. You know, all the kinds of cars that middle-aged tourists like. The crews from New York and Chicago who specialized in high-grade weed would fly out to San Francisco and rent U-Hauls to drive up to the Emerald Triangle. They would broker, pack, and then drive their product all the way across the country in those U-Hauls. Unlike them, we were more like little ants carrying our individual grains of sand in 1-pound packages across the desert, one trip at a time. That's why, in a way, a 100-pound load didn't really seem like that big of a deal to me because I knew a lot of big badasses doing a lot more than 100 pounds. The cops never bothered Bob and me as we drove west across I-80, turning up north to Central California's I-5, and then on over to the Redwood Highway to pick up our loads. Like I said before, our disguise was about as close to the truth as we could get. We were just middle-aged, upper-class white tourists going to see the redwoods or on our way to the ocean for a little R&R. But that certainly wasn't the case for a lot of folks. DWB is a huge problem out on I-80, driving while black or brown. Racial profiling was outrageous, and sporting dreads or hippie clothes was another guarantee to get pulled over for some bogus traffic citation like following too closely. And don't even think about driving a beat-up old jalopy that doesn't have proper registration. Nope, nope, nope. Just no. That is a sure way to get your car confiscated. We saw yard sales all over the sides of the road every trip. You know what a yard sale is in this context, right? Cops just nabbing drivers and taking apart the cars and stringing crap all over the place. That's a yard sale. We always made sure we rented cars with four-wheel drive, particularly in the winter, because interstates and highways could be brutal in the snow and ice. Most four-wheel drives have tinted windows, and that always came in handy for hiding the load if there wasn't a trunk. We drove through millions of miles of construction barrels in the summer, 50-mile-an-hour winds that blew semis off the roads in Nevada and Utah, and up in Oregon too. Snow flurries that grounded traffic to a halt, 10-car pileups bumper to bumper, standstill traffic in 110-degree temperatures. I used to see those poor little road workers out there in that hot heat, and I just couldn't believe they could stand those temperatures on that asphalt. We stopped on the highway at the Pacific Ocean to let moose cross the roads, and we whizzed by at least 20 different kinds of prisons. Isn't that interesting? We saw cartel moving vans pulled over by the cops, hippie VW jalopies, lowriders, and pimped-out Cadillacs, Suburbans stripped and searched, while bewildered defendants knelt by the side of the interstates. Just like that. We drove behind 40 to 50 RVs on the Redwood Highway on Labor Days. Way fun. We did that 3 years in a row. I don't know why we did it 3 times. Why don't we just do it once? Why don't we learn our lesson once? Twice, after driving a 14-hour straight-through trip from Salt Lake to Cali, we fought through a 5-mile line of cars at the Willits Friday night street fair in 100-degree heat. Why would we have done that, I hear you asking. Why, Trinity? Why would you have done that? Because the City Council of Willits blocked up the main highway to and from anywhere in the Emerald Triangle to make tourists stop and spend money and replenish town coffers. I just gotta say, people in Willits need to die. At least the Friday night festival jerks anyway. God, I thought I was gonna jump out of the car and run down the street naked screaming, "Free the people! Free the people!" Then I remembered I wasn't an activist or a hippie or a crazy person. I was an upper-class, middle-aged tourist, and it was my job to stay calm, stop, grab some Bigfoot trinkets in the gas station, and try to get to the damn farm before 10 p.m., which was only 40 more miles. So close and yet so far. You think I'm dramatic? And on your comments below, don't any of you Willett resident snowflakes take me seriously. You know I'm telling the truth. Don't make me delete, snuff out, and ridicule you to death with your butthurt indignation. Well, that's about it for tonight for the mythological 100 pounds, kids. Remember, I love to hear your reactions and thoughts. Keep those particularly revealing comments anonymous, though. Don't forget, this is a public forum in YouTube, and the man is probably lurking around to hear how much I love cops. They know I'm talking about them, so they want to hear it. Until next week's episode, stay out of trouble and don't drive through Willits, California in July. And don't do anything I would do. See you later. Bye-bye.